mysterious. Hey everybody, thanks for coming on back to Cryptid Mysterious. Today I got a pretty cool Sasquatch encounter for y'all. Before we jump right in, please smack that subscribe button for me and let me know where y'all are watching from. Appreciate y'all. Well, today's Bigfoot encounter comes to us from Roberto. In 2005, I'd already been living in Texas for 9 years. I was employed by a large ranching firm, and my job consisted of doing just about anything and everything you could imagine. Over the course of my tenure with the farm, the boys and I had been on many a hunt in our leisure time. We'd also spent a good deal of time hunting varmints and other critters that attacked livestock and the like. Without telling you where I was at the time, simply because I haven't asked permission to do so, there was a group of men who were making a side living hunting wild hogs for landowners all over the area. In case you're unaware, wild hogs are infesting the entire southern United States, and they're spreading like a plague. Not only do they do tremendous amount of property damage, but in some cases, they're even beginning to attack humans. Some of these hogs can weigh over 1,000 pounds and are well capable of killing someone. Now, there was one group of fellas that had asked me during the course of my employment if I was interested in making some good side money. To which I said, absolutely. The side business of which they were speaking was that of hunting wild hogs at night. These guys were so skilled and so well prepared for what they did that they actually were using military-grade night optic helmets and infrared scopes and silenced rifles. I'd been out on well over 50 hunts with these boys. Although many of their clients were repeat business, we never really knew where we may end up on the next call. The people who called in for their help were mostly concerned about the hogs coming too close to where they lived and their children played. This was a really big concern, as you can imagine. A hog could charge a child and gnash him open with their tusks, and they would eat flesh and blood if they felt like it. The men trailered in what were basically heavy-duty, modified electric golf carts that could run around without any noise at night. Maybe golf cart is a bad term because these things were more like midget-stomping 4x4s than golf carts. At any rate, we were well into a large tract of land that we'd been called into for the 5th time by the landowner, and I learned while I was doing this work that hogs multiply at a rate of 20% a year. So if you don't do anything about them, you can quickly have a problem on your hands. There are millions of them in the United States as we speak, and they're growing in numbers at a ridiculous rate annually. Pigs are also known to be one of the smartest animals on the planet, and these hogs are part of that family. While working on many of these properties, we'd noticed that the hogs will take advantage of mingling in the area of cows and steer. They seem to use them as an early warning system for potential incoming predators, such as us. Many times, as we're scoping out some of the larger hogs we wanted to cull out, the cows would start mooing well before we could get in range, and the hogs, sensing danger, would quickly scamper off into the woods. We had to exercise great caution in that we didn't want to arbitrarily shoot a cow passing in front of or behind a hog as we took a shot. It was late Saturday night when we made our way deep into this 2,000 plus acre piece of land when we saw a large herd of these hogs running, and we stopped. It's not uncommon for a pack of coyotes to try and take down the young or lame, and we were thinking that this was exactly what was happening, hence the herd running. As we were focusing on where the herd had been running from, one of the guys said to the group, "If I didn't know any better, it looks to me like there's a large bear tearing into a hog on the ground over there." We all knew there were no bears, and so did he. But we couldn't make any sense out of what exactly was huddled over this apparent boar on the ground. I was looking intently and saw what I believed were long arms working on this fallen hog. It was only moments later when what had been crouched over the hog stood to its feet, picking up the mammoth hog and slinging it over its shoulder. This hog had to weigh 300 pounds, and it looked like a small dog when this creature picked it up, compared to the size of the beast that we were seeing. As soon as it stood up, two of the boys said, "It's a damn Bigfoot. That's incredible." Bobby said, "That's why that herd was running so fast. That big bastard just took one of them out for dinner." We were watching this scenario go down at about 200 yards, so it was difficult to judge the size of the Bigfoot, but we were all well schooled at judging the size of hogs based on prior experience. This Bigfoot seemed to be, in mass, at least 5 times as big as the hog, and the way in which it flipped this 300-plus pound pig on its shoulders was like you or I grabbing a 10-pound sack of spuds. I mean, it just flipped it onto its back and started walking away. We watched it walking for probably about 100 yards when Davy said, "Let's try to follow it." Of course, we didn't know if this Bigfoot knew we were even there, but we knew he was there because we were using night vision and infrared. We kept our distance, but this thing was walking really fast. A couple times, we'd temporarily lost sight of him as he passed through some heavy brush and thicket. About 20 minutes later, we could see that he was approaching the thicket, where there had been 2 others waiting his return. One being shorter than him, and the other one being quite small, maybe 4 or 5 feet in height. Now we knew that this must have been a father out on a hunt and returning home with the kill. The little one started to jump around like a child having received a present. After a few moments, they all seemed to squat down around the hog and apparently feast on it. We eased on out of there, and at sunup had told the landowner what we'd seen. He was really interested, as you can well imagine. And later, that afternoon, we'd agreed to meet up and head back to where we'd seen them. At about 5 p.m., we made our way into the spot where we had seen them eating. There was a small pack of coyotes gathered around the spot, and we drove in, spooking them off to expose what was the remains of the hog. And as it turns out, what was left, which wasn't much, was the carcass of a much bigger hog than we had anticipated. This hog, before it was eaten, had to be well in excess of 700 pounds, which is nearing monster size for these critters. But this also meant that Bigfoot thing was even stronger and bigger than we had thought. Judging by the size of the hog against what we thought the Bigfoot size was, looking now at this hog, I would have to say that the Bigfoot was well over 2,000 pounds, and more than likely over 10 feet tall, based on what we had seen the night before. The landowner asked us why we didn't bag it. We had no answer. To us, I guess it just didn't seem like the right thing to do at the time. We were all just fascinated by the sheer spectacle of seeing this thing. Nobody even mentioned pulling the trigger or dispatching it, even though we had the chance. Think about picking up 700 pounds and throwing it over your shoulder. If by some chance you can make sense out of that, now think about walking a mile in the brush with that hog on your back. The sheer strength and endurance of these monsters is incredible. This size hog would have attacked you or me and could have easily killed us. And yet, somehow, this Bigfoot was able to take it down in the open field and kill it. I only wish I'd been looking in that direction when the takedown had occurred. That would have been truly amazing to watch. Well, yes, it would have. Can you just, for a second, imagine a creature that big, a man-like, ape-like creature, taking down a hog, ripping it apart, and just the sheer size of that kind of creature living in our backyard here in the States. All over the country these things are living. But something that big, my gosh, how do they stay so hidden from the public? It's unbelievable. Have you ever had an encounter with one of these things? Or anything mysterious? I'd love to hear about it. Shoot me an email at cryptidmysterious@gmail.com, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Appreciate y'all.